Welcome to another exciting episode of Carving the Divine TV. My name is Yujiro Seki. I'm a director, writer, and the producer of the documentary Carving the Divine. Carving the Divine is about the Buddhist Sculptors of Japan, and I'm ready to present it for the first time in the world. But before I do so, I thought it would be a great idea to introduce basic concept of Buddhism and the history of Buddhism, so that when you guys finally watch my documentary, you guys can watch it at the maximum value. So today, we're gonna do something different. So we think we learned something about the Buddhism. I don't know if we really did, but I hope we did. So we have our knowledge under our belt, and we wanna explore. We wanna see a different thing around the world. We wanna apply what we learned in our show into the world, so we can see a world in a different way. Yes. Today, we want to talk about religion journalism. What the heck is a religion journalism? I have no idea, but I think it's very important to know. So yes, I have a perfect guest who can talk about this subject. So I am inviting the senior editor of the Buddhist magazine called Buddhist Door Global. So he's an important person. Yes, I'm very excited to have you, senior editor Raymond Lam. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Yujiro. A real pleasure to be on with you.
Wonderful. I know you are a legend in your community, but just in
Oh,
case
please, no.
people who don't know anything about you, please introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm much more humble than you make me out to be. I'm just a religion journalist, as you introduced, and I write for a Buddhist website. As you said, it's Buddhist Global, and you're right. Not many people know much about religion journalism, but it's actually not too far of a connection between your very important work of the movie Carving the Divine. After all, you're a media person, you're a filmmaker, you're making films, right? And so it's only a small jump from making a film to more broadly mass media. And mass media is exactly what journalism is. And the only difference, there's no difference between religion journalism and something like, I'm sure you'll be aware of, politics journalism, sports journalism, finance journalism. You stay in touch with these things every day. I'm sure you pick up a newspaper. I'm sure, you scroll on the Facebook and you read news about politics, sports, or finance. And actually, religion journalism is exactly the same thing. That's how I try to make it more accessible or more easier to understand for people who haven't heard of it. So yes, I write for a Buddhist website, and we're doing exactly this. We cover Buddhism around the world, non-sectarian and free content for all.
Interesting. So you work for, you said, Buddhist Door Global. So what is exactly Buddhist Door Global anyway? So tell us a little bit about it. We don't know anything about it.
Yes, certainly. Buddhist Door Global was founded in 1995 by a Chinese philanthropist, Mr. Robert Ho, and he himself was a journalist. He owned a newspaper in Hong Kong in the 1950s and 60s, actually. And he envisioned the idea of bringing Buddhism to a mass readership. And this was actually very forward-thinking in the day. If you recall, actually the internet had only been opened to the public in 1994 to 5. So it was exactly during that time when he founded Buddhist Door. And it was run as a volunteer website for some time until actually 2009, when we started sort of recruiting sort of full-time employees, sort of at a more professional, you could say, level. And basically, the idea was to have a non-sectarian, non-biased, and sort of objective platform to cover all traditions of Buddhism, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, and interviewing religious leaders, talking about the issues that matter to society, and also covering Buddhism in its own right, developments within the Buddhist world, regional, local, global, all sort of the whole gamut of topics. So if you think of any newspaper, they'll have a whole range of different topics. In a sense, that's what Buddhist Store Global has done for many years now.
Interesting. So now I want you to go a little bit deeper into the world of the religion journalism in Buddhism. So what is your experience? So, and why do we care? Why do we care about this?
Why? It's a great question.
Yeah.
Great question. Because I fully, this is one of the blessings and curses of religion journalism, is that it's such a joy to share with people, because not many people know so much about it. But at the same time, you know, for example, I have questions here. Do you care about the conflict in the Middle East? Do you care about American electoral politics? Do you care about the refugee crisis in Myanmar or Burma? Do you care about Israel and Palestine? Do you care about China's relationship with Christianity and Islam, which is very controversial right now? So all these questions, you see all them in the news all the time. ISIS, 9/11, 9/11, you know, Israel and Palestine, as I mentioned, and also the refugee crisis with Myanmar. All of them have religion as a core component of the motivating factors of the involved players. So it's just not as prominent, so to speak, as if I went to finance journalism. I could tell you, oh, you know, the stocks are going up, the stocks are going down, and you know, this company has bought that company. It's more prominent in mass culture to recognize this school of journalism. Religion journalism, not so much. But at a very basic level, we basically cover all kinds of religion and all kinds of trends that are influenced by religion. So I want to quote from this speaker at Harvard, what she said. All journalists, those who cover religion as a beat, and even those who don't, need to understand the roles religions are playing in diverse places all around the world. Religion is an important story, and it always has been. Our conception of religion as this isolated sphere has been a misrepresentation of religion that has been prominent since the 17th century. But in fact, religions have always been informed in part by all political and economic realities. You can't separate religion in a private sphere. So what this means is that for so many people, and I'm sure also in your hometown in Tokyo, religion is intensely private. Okay, you have your public life, and then you have your private life. And in the private life, that's where you practice religion. Don't bring your religion out to, you know, to be in touch with many other people. But this is a very recent idea. As the speaker said, it's only a couple of centuries old. In reality, religion affects everything in the human story. And so I think the reason why people don't know religion journalism so much is because they have been influenced by this Western concept of religion is private, not public. You know, keep religion in your own home and don't pretend and try to pretend that it doesn't influence everything else in human society. But from my perspective as a religion journalist, that's incorrect. Religion, even if it's not so obvious, affects many, many different aspects of current events. And you just need to take a few steps more, and then you'll see motivating forces of religion behind a lot of different things. So that's what religion journalism is: covering religion and its influences in society.
I got the big idea. So now I want to talk about your personal story. So as a journalist, so what kind of experience
Yes.
you're going through? So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I've always been interested in religion when I was a child. And so it's been a lifelong passion of mine. I grew up reading the myths of ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient China. And, I spent long hours at the library reading about religion and mythology. And, excuse me. And then I basically, as I grew up, I decided I wanted to build a career, or at least build a vocation that was related to the religious experience, because that was how much it meant to me. And personally, I also became a person of religion. I converted to Buddhism in 2008, and that was when I was in my early 20s. And so I had all this inspiration behind me, but how would I be able to translate it into a sort of profession? At first, I wanted to go into academia, but as time went by, I slowly became more and more interested in the idea of using journalism as a vehicle to talk about religion. And so, quite innocuously, there were no big changes, there were no dramatic events. Basically, I just slipped right into journalism, and it just so happened that I encountered Buddhist Store at the right time. And so I've been working as a religion journalist for this Buddhist website ever since. And so some of the experiences that I've had, it's just surreal. It's just quite unique to this gig, so to speak. Interviewing religious leaders is just one aspect of it. You might go to cover events hosted by, for example, now with COVID-19 it's different, but over the past few years, since 2015, I've been going to India every year to cover what they're doing with Buddhist diplomacy. And maybe you've never heard of that, but in Asia, it's huge because religion is part of the political and social and cultural fabric of these big countries. And I can specifically relate to you. One time when I went to India in 2015, it was a jointly hosted conference by the Indian government and the Tokyo Foundation, which is based in Tokyo, obviously. And they had a joint conference with Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and a sort of recorded speech with Mr. Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan. And people think, my goodness, I've never even heard these world leaders talk about what they did in certain religious avenues. But they did. They did. And it's part of the whole diplomatic, soft cultural diplomacy that not just India and Japan, but China is also doing, that Nepal and Pakistan and South Korea are also doing. All of them have Buddhist diplomacy going on at, not all at the huge scale, but certainly still going on. And so one of my experiences in this job has actually been to bring this to light, because they're doing it and not enough outlets are covering it. Some do, but not enough. And I think we provide good coverage of this and many other issues of import. So those are some of the personal experiences that I've had. Overall, I think it's been a very complex experience, because you see all facets of religion. You don't see one single side. It's not purely some sort of wonderful otherworldly phenomenon. It has its own contours and complexities, and it changes everywhere with every region that you go to. It's not just one thing. So I found my work very rewarding and very eye-opening, very educational. You have to humble yourself. You have to sort of see yourself as a disciple. But that's what religion teaches us to do anyway. So in a sense, I haven't had too much difficulty adjusting to this life. I think it's been a very interesting journey for myself personally.
Interesting. So since we got the basic idea, now we want to talk about your platform. For somebody who doesn't know anything about this kind of stuff, it's really difficult to go to your website and look for information that we might find it's interesting. So how can we navigate in your website and social media world so that we can pinpoint exactly we are looking for, or what kind of information that we can find? And sometimes this is very difficult stuff.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, like even just because of the sort of the richness and volume of the content, that can make it difficult in itself. But at least with a few basic pointers, I hope to be able to point you and our viewers to the most important parts of the website, which might hopefully be useful. Basically, the most important sections of our website are the features and the news sections. They're both on the front page, with features at the top and news at the bottom. And this is where you see the bread and butter, so to speak, of our religion, so-called religion journalism, our Buddhist journalism. Features are generally feature articles covering a range of Buddhist issues, interviews with Buddhist personalities, and reviews of other Buddhist medias, like books from Shambhala, or movies like your own, Carving the Divine. So that's all coverage that we have put on there, and you can access through the front page. And down below it is the news section, where every day we have news every day coming out from the Buddhist world, where our in-house team writes a news piece about something that's going on in the Buddhist world. And you'll be surprised at how much there is. The other day I wrote an article about how there's this Chinese Buddhist monk based in New York who's been awarded some sort of interfaith award because of his distributing PPE supplies across many different New York hospitals and police stations and fire stations to help out with the coronavirus pandemic. So just something like that. It's already a story worth telling. So we have features and news, and we've also got a section called special issues, where we focus every year on a specific topic. So we cover a specific area of interest. So, for example, last year we covered Buddhism and technology, sort of the relationship between Buddhism and AI, the ethics of robots. Can an android have Buddha nature? Very both fun and philosophical questions. And we also had a feature on a special issue on women in Buddhism 2 years ago, I think. And then we have, of course, a YouTube channel, which we are expanding into gradually. Traditionally, we've been a text-based website, and we're going to stay a text-based website, but obviously with the many trends on social media and around the world, you want to have more video interviews, you want to have more visual output, visual stimuli. So that's what we're trying to do. And it's a slow and long journey, but we're getting there.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have to explore more on your website and learn about what's going on around the world, what's going on with the Buddhism, right?
Yeah. And actually, you're a perfect example of, you've made a very unique film. I've watched it. I've interviewed you 2 times. One of our colleagues has interviewed you as well. I've reviewed the movie, and this is the kind of thing that we like to tell stories about. And we see you as your own Buddhist personality, making some wonderful work, shooting a really unique movie for viewers. And so this is the kind of thing that we are very passionate about showing to our own readers. And I'd also like to add that we're very close to the Buddhist studies community. Maybe you've heard of some of our friends at the British Library, at the Rubin Museum in New York. We are passionate about bringing the sort of this high quality standard of studying Buddhism to as many people as possible. So we definitely don't dumb things down, but we certainly appreciate the need to communicate and show off Buddhist studies, this rich body of this rich tradition of studying Buddhism to more people, and help them understand what's so important about it. So there's some things that are in fact quite neglected in the media, and I see Buddhist Door as a very important corrective. It really brings to light some issues and points of view that otherwise you'll never hear about, especially without a Buddhist platform.
Wonderful. So tell us what's going on in your world. You know, what's going on in your life? What kind of stuff you're covering now?
Well, you raise a very fantastic point. Right now, my team is mostly overwhelmingly focused on covering certain broad trends around the world. So without question, COVID-19 is a huge part of it. I've lost count of how many of our columnists, we have a team of columnists around the world, and I'd say over 50% of them are writing quite justifiably about COVID-19, how it's affected religious communities, how it's affected our daily activities and our inner being. You know, we've never faced anything like this before, and COVID-19, I think, is going to bring about great reflection on what human society should value most. Everyone's stuck at home. Suddenly, everyone's reading books. Suddenly, everyone's thinking about religion and philosophy because there's nothing else to do. They can't, including myself, we can't run around cluttering our minds with entertainment and going out to meet friends and, you know, going to the movies or to the pub because we can't do it. We're all stuck at home. So COVID-19 is a watershed event that will really that's really been important for our website. Another thing that's been going on in my life personally were the Hong Kong protests last year, and right now this year there are other things going on that developments are. It's too soon to make an evaluation. But certainly last year was a tumultuous year for the city that I'm based in. I'm based in Hong Kong. And we did cover quite comprehensively root causes of the protests and the sort of declining trust in certain institutions in the city, and also how it can be resolved and how we can move forward together as a society. Apart from that, one very important issue that overrides all of them. So this is just my last one, my more general one, climate change. Now, we are very ecologically aware at our Buddhist Door website. We even made a special issue on the environment specifically. That was a few years ago. So we're very passionate about sort of talking about the climate crisis. We're talking about the climate crisis as an existential threat to the well-being of our future generations and to the entire ecosystem of the world. So just those three are very provide a lot of material. So the climate crisis, social unrest in this city of Hong Kong, and COVID-19, which has obviously dominated headlines. So those are three things. They've affected me personally, and they've unquestionably affected all of us in Hong Kong, in Japan, and around the world.
Wonderful. I have a surprise question for you. I don't know if you're ready for this, but you know, it's off the top of my head. So
Sure.
we talk about the Buddhist Door Global, but I'm just curious, how is it the relationship between Buddhist Door Global and other religious community, you know, such as Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, the Western religion? So, you know, because you talk about the this is religion journalism. So I'm sure like interfaith communication is also important. So please.
Oh, you wonderful. No. It's not just it's a wonderful surprise question, because I myself did study interfaith theology at university, and I myself am very passionate about engaging with other religious communities, should they choose. In fact, a few years ago, we had been very good friends with the Turkish community here in Hong Kong. Now, the Turkish expression of Islam is quite open. And the particular community that we were friends with, we held interfaith seminars together. We even did one between a Buddhist Rinpoche, a lecturer on Sufi studies, and a Christian professor. So just the short answer is that we are passionate about doing it, and we've also done it on several occasions. And in terms of engaging engaging with other religious communities, it's an exercise in mutual hospitality. Religious theologians have debated for many centuries about how two religions can learn from each other, but without either one trying to convert the other. Because the moment you try to convert, it's not a conversation, it's a conversion, right? And so interfaith encounters are actually much more complicated than some people think. You don't just throw, you know, a Christian and a Buddhist and a Muslim into a party, and then that's called interfaith dialogue. That's not the case. It also takes a lot more emotional intelligence than a lot of people think. Because, as I said, how can you talk about religion, and how can you learn from the other religion without sort of feeling the need or the pressure to become part of it, right? And how does the other person's religion fit into your religious worldview? You know, it's very complicated and often difficult for people to do, but it's been one of my life's passions. And I have a story, for example, about how the Buddhist community in Russia often has often has interfaith dialogues with the Orthodox community. I saw this for myself when I was on a trip in Russia back in 2015. And, you know, all around the world, interesting encounters like these are happening so that people can grow in their own religion by being informed about their friends and their brothers and sisters in other religious traditions. It's a wonderful story.
I understand in the 21st century, in order to make the world a better place and peaceful, this kind of dialogue is very important instead of saying who's right and who's wrong. I got it.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So I hope you guys learned a lot today. If you guys think this information is useful, make sure to subscribe my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and like me on my Facebook, because that's how we do it in the 21st century, and Raymond and I are doing that together.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've been a wonderful partner and collaborator. I'm so proud to be part of your series.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.